Game Week 17 is here, so it's time to finalise those FPL teams. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. I've got a defensive issue in Nori that I need to fix, and maybe we'll talk about some forwards too. So guys, join me as I select my Game Week 17 team for hopefully yet another green arrow. Okay guys, so Game Week 16, success. Very happy, mostly down to one man, and he is Lewis Hall. But having both Isak and Jackson in my team was pretty useful as well, with Enzo also clocking up a few points. How about that Arsenal defence? Another clean sheet for them, with Gabriel scoring a big 9-pointer. People were worried about him starting, but not only did he start, but he very much delivered. So overall, very positive Game Week 16 for me, up from 368k all the way up to 214k. So very, very strong game week for me. A lot of strong game weeks recently. I'm really, really happy with the direction my team is taking, and hopefully we can continue with some very, very strong decision making to improve that rank further. Top 100k, I am targeting you. Hopefully we can make it by the new year. So let's keep going. Let's have a look at how we're going to set up for Game Week 17, because there are decisions to be made. But before we do that, unfortunately, you are on a yellow card right now because you haven't liked the video. However, if you do like the video, you can avoid one of these, a red card. Leave a like. Really appreciate it. Guys, do subscribe as well if you want to follow along with my moves each game week. Okay, so 2 free transfers, 2.2 million in the bank. We do have quite a lot of flexibility this week to make some moves, which is really, really positive. But we're going to start off in goal with a negative note, and that is Bart Verbruggen, and him and the Brighton defense in general have been very disappointing from an FPL perspective. I'm really, really not happy with how Brighton have been defending, and the unfortunate thing is the good fixtures are drying up very, very soon. We have West Ham up next for Brighton, but given that it's an away fixture, I'm not convinced at all that Brighton are going to keep a clean sheet in any fixture at the moment. I spoke about selling Verbruggen last game week, but I'm edging closer to that decision if only there weren't other issues to think about as well. So Verbruggen is definitely on this sale list. Does anyone want to buy him off me? Maybe. But yeah, Brighton have just been a pretty poor defense. But we'll move on into the good defense, and that is Arsenal and Gabriel. And I think at this stage we can bring up let's bring up the stats for the best defenses over the past 10 game weeks. And I've ordered these teams by expected goals conceded per game, because obviously Everton and Liverpool have played one game less. And you can see Arsenal right at the top of this list doing absolutely brilliantly and actually way ahead of the competition. 0.74 expected goals conceded for Arsenal per game over the last 10. That's incredible. Really, really nice stuff. They are, predicted to get a clean sheet pretty much every other game at this point, which is incredible. It really is incredible. And we kind of mentioned Brighton there. They are kind of mid-table in this graph here, but they're mid-table having played quite nice fixtures, which does concern me a little bit. We've got other teams like Fulham around here as well. They are similar to Brighton, but they've played tougher fixtures, particularly in the more recent past. So you'll feel a bit more confident about Fulham than you do with Brighton. But I do want to highlight a few other teams, because even though Arsenal are by far, statistically, and when you watch the games, the best defence, and a lot of that is due to maybe fairly negative football, which is creating clean sheet opportunities, there are a few other teams worth noting. Now, obviously, we know about Everton and Liverpool. They've been good defences throughout the season, as have Nottingham Forest. But Newcastle and Bournemouth, I want you to take note on this, guys. They've been doing really well defensively as well. 1.05 expected goals conceded per game for Newcastle, which is really, really good. And Bournemouth are up here as well, 1.18. So when we're looking at the best defences in the Premier League right now, obviously Arsenal are number one, but you can't just fill your defence with Arsenal players. That would leave at least one slot for another defender / goalkeeper. But as a Saka owner, I'm realistically max 2 Arsenal defenders. So if you're looking for new defenders, you don't have triple Arsenal. Of course, Arsenal are there. We're going through some of the other top defences right now. Newcastle, Bournemouth, who we haven't spoke about too much as great defences, but they are. And then maybe going to Crystal Palace as well, because they seem to be on a really nice upward trajectory for their defence. They seem to be getting better week on week, which is really nice to see. Towards the bottom of this table, few other notes here. Spurs, Man City, still really bad defensively. Only better than Wolves, Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, which isn't really saying very much for them. But yeah, Arsenal, brilliant defence. They really are at the moment. So very happy to have Gabriel in my team. I think he is pretty much essential at this point. I think if you don't have Gabriel, you're looking for a new defender. He is the guy. Crystal Palace and Ipswich, two nice fixtures. I know Arsenal did concede to Crystal Palace in the Cup, but they weren't playing a full-strength team. So I think with a full-strength Arsenal, particularly in defence, we could see better results for Arsenal and for Gabriel. But we'll move on to my other defenders, and we do have Kirkes here. We mentioned Bournemouth putting up really good defensive numbers, but they play Manchester United up next. So do I want to play a Bournemouth defender against Manchester United? Well, there's an argument to say yes. Now, obviously, we know Kirkes looks brilliant on the pitch for his attacking numbers. His attacking numbers aren't necessarily fully there, but when you watch his positioning on the pitch, it is very, it's very positive. It really is. And it also encourages him to get bonus points. I think attacking returns are always a possibility with this guy. But how likely is this against Manchester United? Well, I was looking earlier at the best attacks in the league of recent game weeks. And I thought I would, again, show a table here of how Manchester United have been doing for non-penalty XG since the arrival of Amorim. And 0.97 expected, or non-penalty expected goals per match doesn't exactly put them in the top attacks. In fact, they've been one of the weaker attacks in the Premier League. Only Forest, Fulham, Leicester, Southampton and Everton are creating more than them outside of those penalties. Now, you could make an argument that Man United have played some difficult games during this period, but they've also played Ipswich and Man City, who, as we have discussed, are some of the weaker defences in the league. So I think there is some balance there. So overall, I think there is a solid chance, knowing how Bournemouth have been performing well defensively, good defensive numbers, and Manchester United, poor attacking numbers. I do wonder if a clean sheet really is a possibility. Remember, Bournemouth only recently kept a clean sheet against Spurs, and I'm sure not too many people saw that one coming. I punted on Kirkes then, worked out. Can we try it again against Manchester United? Hey, you never know. Right, guys, we also do have Hall in our defence. He plays against Ipswich. This is a much nicer fixture, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are pretty hyped up on Hall. It's a good fixture. It really is against Ipswich. They are one of the weaker attacks in the Premier League more consistently throughout the season. So we've got a decent amount of data there. Of course, Ipswich will be without Delap. My one concern is Newcastle are quite poor away from home. So I don't think a clean sheet is guaranteed, but I think we've got a good chance here. Another note on Hall, if you don't have him already, after Ipswich, the fixtures aren't great. So I'm not sure if he's a long-term solution to your problems, but for this game week, he certainly does the job. Very happy to have him in my team. Let's move into the midfield. We've got Mo Salah in the midfield, and obviously, he's been doing really well. I thought we'd have a look at Salah's stats recently, as well as some of the other premium attackers. So, over the past 6 game weeks, which I like for attacking form, Salah, really good numbers. The most shots in the box of any player in the Premier League with 20, despite playing one less game than a lot of these other players. 4.82 XG, which is only behind Palmer. Good creative threat here as well. 1.57 expected assists, which is really only behind Palmer by the tiniest of margins, and Saka, who, as we know, is a creative machine, and Son there as well. But given the minutes, these are looking like really incredible numbers, and I think Salah continues to be a really essential pick. Palmer is obviously doing really well for his numbers as well, despite the fact he sometimes looks like he's playing a little bit deeper at times, but his numbers are still brilliant, and he has been underperforming a little bit on his XG. You can see his expected points. His actual points are only slightly higher than his expected points, and at the top of his game, we would usually see his actual points quite a lot higher than this. So lots of good stuff to come from Palmer, despite the blank last game week. And I think the fact he got a bonus point without any goal contributions is testament to how important this player is to Chelsea. But since we're speaking about Palmer, let's throw him on the pitch as well. Another player who is going to be very useful this week. Obviously, Salah against Spurs, Palmer against Everton. We spoke about the defences from both of these teams earlier in the video. And Everton are what looks to be a fairly strong defence compared to Spurs, who have been super weak since they have lost a lot of players. Everton, on the other hand, have a lot of players back fit now compared to earlier on in the season, and they're in good defensive form as well, recently keeping a clean sheet to Arsenal. However, my mind goes back to last season where Everton were performing really, really well defensively pretty much every single game week, and then they played Chelsea, and Chelsea absolutely thumped them. This was kind of at the end of last season, and I can't remember exactly what the score was. Was it 6-0? Something crazy like that. I think it was 6-0. Palmer got an absolute haul in that game, and I think that's basically the point, that Chelsea are probably the best attack in the Premier League right now. They are doing so well in attack. So even though Everton have been defensively solid, we saw this last season, we might see it again, where actually Chelsea, with all of their amazing attacking ability, can unlock this Everton defence. So a lot of people keen on Salah captain. I think Palmer definitely needs to be in that conversation as well. Saka is also in here. Not sure he would be as much in the conversation, as his XG numbers aren't quite as high as the likes of Palmer and Salah. He's still taking plenty of shots, but most of them are from lower XG chances. And we've seen Saka with only one big chance in the last 6 game weeks, which I'm not sure if that is quite good enough. Was that a penalty as well? You know, it's not ideal. Saka's creativity is amazing, and being a penalty taker is amazing. And when you're a top player and you take a lot of shots, some will find the back of the net. And Saka is still taking plenty of shots. But against Crystal Palace, who are improving, I don't think we've got whole potential in this game. That said, Arsenal just scored 3 goals against Crystal Palace in the Cup. And Saka, after his introduction as a substitute, got an assist pretty much immediately. So Saka definitely has the potential to do something against Crystal Palace, but for me, I'm more looking forward to the game weeks beyond. Game week 18 onwards look really nice for Saka. Enzo is my final midfielder. He is playing very advanced. In fact, often is the case that Palmer and Enzo in that midfield, you know, they're as advanced as one another. Enzo is no longer a defensive midfielder. He, like Palmer, is more of an attacking midfielder. He also has a share of set pieces, of those corners. When Palmer is off the pitch, Enzo is the penalty taker for Chelsea as well. And he seems to have nailed his space down, really, as one of the captains at Chelsea. He's doing really well. I think that will continue, but we do need to manage our expectations a little bit. He's 5.1 million for a reason. Great value for money, but we can't guarantee ourselves return every week. Although, tell that to Enzo, because he has been returning every single week, hasn't he? But, you know, I think we just need to be a little understanding. If he blanks, it's not the end of the world. Maybe the following game week he might be able to do something, because he has been overperforming. But he is a brilliant football player, and he is capable of that. Moving up front, we've got Alexander Isak, really the star of the show recently. Looks like one of the best FPL assets in the game. Again, an away fixture worries me a little bit. And Ipswich, yes, their defensive numbers are poor, but they don't actually concede that many goals. I know, it sounds strange, but they really don't. I think it's something like 8 goals conceded in the last 7 games for Ipswich, which is actually a reasonably good defensive record, but they do concede a lot of chances. And against the best attackers, the best finishers, like Alexander Isak, there is a very good chance that a player like Isak will find the back of the net compared to some of the other oppositions that Ipswich have been facing recently. I mean, it only took Cunha 1 shot from a fairly tight angle to score against Ipswich last week, and I think Isak is more than capable of doing that. We just need to see Newcastle improve their away form, because 3 of the next 4 game weeks are going to be away fixtures for Isak. But still, if you do have Cunha and he gets suspended at time of recording, I don't know if Cunha is going to be available or not for Game Week 17. But if you are looking for a forward replacement in general for Game Week 17, Isak would still be my number 1 choice, because he is in such good form. And one other note on Isak that I think is really important here is that his creativity is there as well. Not only is he putting up some of the best XG numbers over the past 6 game weeks, but also 1.41 expected assists with 15 key passes For a striker, that is phenomenal. He is talismanic. He is the talisman of this Newcastle team. That's why he's putting up the best numbers of any forward in the game right now. That is why he's scoring more FPL points than any other forward in the game right now. He is looking absolutely incredible. My other forwards here include Jackson, who is, again, another player putting up pretty decent numbers. If we go back to this graphic, I obviously have Jackson and João Pedro in my team as my other forwards. These guys are putting up some of the best numbers as well. They're not quite Isak levels, but Jackson, 18 shots here. Only Watkins and Haaland are taking more shots than Jackson at the moment. 17 shots in the box as well. Again, only Watkins and Haaland can top that, which is really, really good. Jackson is an interesting player. He'll miss his big chances, but then score the more difficult chances. But he has been in such incredible form this season. And 3 goals and 1 assist in his past 5 games within the last 6 game weeks really does show what great form and what great quality he is bringing at the moment. So for 8.2 million, I still trust him more with the fixtures. You know, I trust Chelsea in any fixture because they are such a great attack. And I trust Jackson more than the likes of, you know, Evan Nilsson. More difficult fixtures coming. Delap is suspended. Wissa, we're seeing him play a little bit wider at times, although I think he should come back in centrally now. I do genuinely trust Jackson ahead of a lot of the players that are technically putting up slightly better numbers than him. And João Pedro, a lot of people have written him off, but his numbers are still some of the best among forwards. He is putting up better numbers than Mateta and Cunha and Solanke and Wood and Raul Jimenez. And I know a lot of people are talking about all of these other players. João Pedro, you know, have a little trust in him, have a little patience with him. Over the past 6 game weeks, he is putting up very good numbers. And I think against West Ham next, he is a player who could do really, really well against a West Ham defence that is prone to conceding chances. And a top quality player like João Pedro, particularly if Brighton can find a bit of form again, could work really well. What I want to see is Welbeck play again ahead of João Pedro, and that will unlock João Pedro in those spaces a little bit more. And penalties, of course, are always going to be very useful for the Brighton Brazilian as well. So that is my starting 11. Let's move on to the bench now, and then we'll talk about transfers. So my bench is Fabianski. Not going to play him against Brighton. Brighton are a good attack, if nothing else. Rodgers against Man City. Actually, don't mind that. I was tempted to play Rodgers ahead of Enzo, and I think if you have any issues in your team and you have Rodgers on your bench, I think it's fine to play Rodgers this week. Man City really have been poor defensively. Digne, I think he will play, but I think Man City will score, so he will be on the bench. And Aït-Nouri, of course, is suspended, so no dice there. So, what do we do? We've got Aït-Nouri suspended for the good fixture, and then tough fixtures after that. Surely he's a player that I need to sell, if not now, in the very near future. Verbruggen, I'm not happy with either. Kerkez, I'm okay with generally, but I don't really like this Man United fixture. It's not perfect for me. So what do we do? Well, I think I'm happy with my attack. Isak and Jackson, perfect. Really love this combo. Salah, Palmer, Saka, of course, these players are nearing essentialness as well. Enzo and João Pedro, some of you guys may have debates about these players, but I'm very happy with these guys as well. Rodgers, I still have faith in as a backup. I'm happy with Rodgers and Enzo for now. Open to moving Rodgers on in the near future, but also Aston Villa's fixtures will turn very soon as well. What do we do? It's a defensive transfer, I think, for me. And it's between 2 options. I think most people right now will be going for Robinson. They will be selling Aït-Nouri and they will be buying Robinson. That is your template transfer. But if I'm totally honest with you guys, I'm going to bring up this graphic for you right now. I don't want Robinson. I want someone else. And his name is Daniel Munoz. Great first name, by the way, Daniel. Look at these numbers, guys. Seriously, Crystal Palace, we've spoken about them being an improving defence with great fixtures on the horizon. Munoz has 9 shots in the box, 5 big chances, 1.99 XG in the past 6 game weeks, and he is converting with 2 goals there as well. 6 key passes as well during this period. So this is incredible stuff. He did all of this in tough fixtures. From open play as well. This is not a Saliba getting a lucky tap in from a corner or tapping off his behind into the back of the net. No, it is not. This is genuine and replicatable attacking potential. And even though Robinson looks great for assists, if you want those mega hauls, you need goals from your defenders. Or multiple assists in one game and a clean sheet, as Lewis Hall can attest to. But Munoz is the guy I really want. So I have a decision. Do I just play Kirkes, or do I replace Ait-Nouri with Robinson so I have a better defender to play right now? Of course, if I hold off on the defender transfer, then next week I can get Munoz. Because right now, Munoz is suspended for the game against Arsenal. Not that I'd want to play him anyway in that fixture. But after that, Crystal Palace's fixtures do look a lot better. What do? Some of you guys are just going to be desperate for a new defender and therefore will be buying Robinson for the immediate term. If you can afford to be a little bit more patient and you have a defender you are semi-comfortable with, like Kirkes, then maybe you can hold off and go for the player you really want. Now, if you really want Robinson, then this is not going to be an issue for you. But for me, I really want Daniel Munoz. These numbers are incredible. They really, really are. For a 4.7 million defender, I have full faith that Munoz can do essentially what he was doing last season. We have a lot of data, a lot of evidence to suggest that Munoz is an incredible attacking defender that basically plays as a inside right forward. Basically plays as a striker at times for Crystal Palace. For 4.7 million as a defender, you rarely get these opportunities, and I want to take advantage of that opportunity. The other option, of course, is to get in on the Arsenal defence. I only have one Arsenal defender right now. I want two. I could go for Timber. I have enough money in the bank to move Ait-Nouri to Timber. And maybe, in a way, that would be a more sensible move for me than going for Robinson. However, I want Munoz as my next defender. I think with Kirkes, Hall, Munoz when I get him, and Digne for now, but I could maybe move Digne to someone else as well. I think that's enough. I think that's enough cover for my two playing defender slots. My goalkeeper, however, I'm not happy with, and I have enough money in the bank to move to Raya. So that's what I'm going to do this game week, guys. I'm not going to be a Christmas Scrooge. I will be splashing the cash on a premium goalkeeper, Raya, therefore getting me into the double Arsenal defence, and I can finally start celebrating all of these inevitable Arsenal clean sheets. It's a pretty boring transfer this week, but it leaves me that option to move to Munoz later on. Maybe I move to Munoz this game week to avoid price changes or to take advantage of price changes. But all in all, I don't think I'd play Munoz in game week 18 anyway. Maybe I would. Not sure. Not sure yet. I want to keep an eye on it. But yeah, this is kind of what my team is going to look like. Therefore, guys, I think this is looking really, really strong with obviously Raya and Gabriel as the double Arsenal defence. We've got Kirkes, which isn't ideal, but Hall we're very happy with. Midfield is great. Attack is great. I'm very, very happy with my team right now. Let's throw the captain's armband on Mo Salah, because if we're totally honest, Mo Salah is playing in a very attacking role, continues to be in great form, even, getting more points than Palmer last game week, even though I didn't captain him. And I think Spurs are just a team that is so capable of just conceding a whole bunch of goals out of nowhere. And I think Liverpool, the form they're in, and the defence of Spurs, this is a match made in heaven for Salah. It's a great time to play Tottenham Hotspur, and therefore I will be captaining Salah with the vice-captain on Cole Palmer. Little shout out to Isak, though. I would be semi-tempted to go for Isak as well, but we'll leave that one for now. So I'm back on the Fantasy Football Hub website because I wanted to have a look at what my team would look like if I did make the Raya and Munoz transfers and see how things would play out week to week. Of course, guys, if you want full access to all of the Fantasy Football Hub tools, you can still get a 30-day free trial by using the link in the description for their Christmas deal. So make sure, check out, unwrap the present, the gift of green arrows this winter using the link in the description. There you go, guys. But yeah, this is what we're looking like. So, obviously, Munoz is useless to me in Game Week 17, but Hall and Kirkes, I think, would do the trick. Game Week rating of 95%, which is very, very good. I think you want to aim for 90+% for a Game Week rating on the Fantasy Football Hub rating system. I think that usually shows that your team is data-backed. We have a 98% overall team rating. But anyway, And by the way, guys, Hub's AI is recommending to captain Palmer by a tiny amount. Very close this week. But moving on into Game Week 18. Again, can you see what I mean? I think I would play Hall against Aston Villa and Kirkes against Crystal Palace. And I think I would actually bench Munoz against Bournemouth. There is maybe the option to play Munoz ahead of one of these guys, but I think I'd have to keep an eye on that. I think Game Week 17 would make a difference for my decision making for that week. So I don't actually need Munoz until Game Week 19. When Munoz plays against Southampton at home, which would be very useful to have him in that game week. But I'm not sure if I want to wait that long because of price changes. Ait-Nouri is going to drop in price. Munoz will probably rise in price between now and Game Week 19. Do I want to just go in early and make the transfer, or do I want to hold off and wait for more information over 2 game weeks where I actually don't need Munoz that badly in Game Week 17 and 18. Game Week 19 is when I really, really want him. But then again, in Game Week 20, if we go to the next game week, I wouldn't play Munoz again. I wouldn't play him here because Digne plays against Leicester, Kirkes against Everton. I would be toying with the idea of another defender by this point as well, which gives me like another idea. Could I just do, for example, guys, could I do this week? Obviously, I'll do the Raya transfer. I think I've got to do that one. But if I also do Digne to Robinson, that would give me both. Is that overkill? Is that too many good defenders? That way, I could play Robinson instead of Kirkes this week. I could, obviously I wouldn't play Kirkes in Game Week 18 because he plays against Chelsea away. So it would still be Hall and Kirkes for that. So Robinson stays on the bench. Game Week 19, again, would I play Robinson ahead of Kirkes? Yes, probably. Game Week 20, let's move on. Would play Robinson again. It's interesting. I could maybe have both Munoz and Robinson, but spending 2 transfers on 2 cheap defenders, I'm not sure if it's worth it. And also, I know that at some point, I'm going to want to have a Liverpool defender in here somewhere as well. Obviously, I'll probably have to sell like a Jackson or an Isak or maybe a Saka in order to fund a move like that to get a Liverpool defender, or just go for someone like Konate for someone slightly cheaper. But I think I definitely need to be aware that one of my defenders will eventually be a Liverpool defender. Could be Van Dijk, could be Trent, could potentially be Konate if I want to go a bit cheaper. But yeah, I think that's the one thing putting me off going for both Robinson and Munoz. So let me know what you think there, guys. It does improve my team to a 99 team rating, so that can only be a good thing. What do you think? Should I go for Robinson this week and then hold off on Munoz since I won't need him for 2 weeks anyway? Yeah, maybe that's the play, and that way I can have just Gabriel, Raya, and a whole bunch of great cheap defenders, pretty much all of the cheap defenders that I want, but I'd have to bench 2 every week. Let me know what you think about that, guys. I think it could potentially work, but it's an extra transfer spent. But anyway, check out Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description, completely free. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. Like the video, please. And yeah, check out another video if you would like to. But until next time, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.